Why you never marry?
I can love foolishly. So I knew that if I decided to remarry, my children were going to suffer. And he was in school, you were in school, we were building, and we needed to build so that we'll have where to stay. I watched one of your videos where you were talking about gambling. And it was from that video that I got to know that that was what happened to your school fees.
Thank you.
Is that how people die? No, now. Did we have that kind of discussion? You are dying and leaving me and the children to where? It's not possible. And then we had to give out our dog, Big Boss. He tried to see if he could jump over the fence to follow me. He was screaming. And I had to drive off crying. It was a very tough time. It was a tough time on everybody, including our dog. I thought it was a bad dream that I was going to wake up from. But December will make it 17 years. And I haven't woken up from this dream. And I haven't been able to get over my husband all these years. That's what happened on the 11th of December, 2008. Night came for me in the afternoon.
Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to every mother who is actively present and involved in our child's life. Happy Mother's Day to even those who we've lost along the way, who were responsible in the period where they were present in their child's life. And there's something about mothers that I love so much. I say this when I'm trying to contrast it to fathers. Now, fathers are people who are very important to society. They are people who, are very, they bring a sort of structure to the lives of children, right? They bring discipline, they bring structure and all of those things, okay? Now, but a mother's love is kind of different in the sense that you can have a child that, just keeps on misbehaving. Now, a father might, show a bit of patience here and there, but after a while, the father might just give up on the child. Which is why when you hear of they've disowned him, it most times comes from the fathers. Mothers are always the more persistent ones. Mothers are kind of like a picture of Christ and the church, in the sense that Christ never really gives up on us. Sorry, he never gives up on us. He is always there, always nudging us, and so mothers are always kind of like that, in the sense that a mother's love is reliable, it's nurturing, and it's forgiving. The beautiful thing about mothers is that behind every mother is a beautiful story. Now, that story will be filled with tears, will be filled with labor and sacrifice, will be filled with all of those. But that story is always some sort of symbol of, some sort of beautiful love, kind of. And I wanted to start from home, because charity begins at home. And I wanted to bring my own person, my own mom, to the Breath of Hope set to just share a bit of her story. A story filled with love, a story filled with loss, filled with battles that she had to fight, to be a mother. And she wasn't just a mother. She was a father to us at some point. She had to play multiple roles. She had to leave the house at 8 a.m. to ensure that we had food to eat, to ensure that our school fees were paid, to ensure that we were not naked, to ensure that we could sleep. And she'll be sharing all of these challenges. She had to come back from home and be the mother to us, to me and my two sisters, to ensure that we were loved right, to ensure that we were nurtured right. And of course, all I can say is thank you, right? But thank you would never, ever really be enough. So I want you to really hear in detail from the horse's mouth. So everyone, my mom.
Hello, son, my one and only biological son. I have a lot of sons.
Yeah.
Some in the profession, some in ministry, but you are my one and only biological son.
I don't know what the other sons are doing, Sha, but no problem.
I'm so glad to be on the Breath of Hope podcast.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I had to, because Mother's Day is, today, and I didn't really want to miss this opportunity to, tell your story to the world. Whenever I think about your story and how much you had to, go through and overcome just to ensure that we have the life that is your children, we have the life that we are living today. I just think that it's something that is worthy of inspiration and something that, the whole world should know. But let me start briefly about you. Can you tell me who you are, what you do, just in summary?
Okay. My name is Mrs Akan. I'm first of all a mother. Since I lost my husband, I call myself God's beautiful wife. In my language, I call myself Oyaingwan Abasi. So I am a teacher, first of all. Oyaingwan Abasi, I've already mentioned it.
Okay.
God's beautiful
sorry.
wife. Yeah. I'm first of all a teacher. I'm a Microsoft certified educator. I work in the educational sector. I actually work for the Nigeria Police Force Education Unit. And I'm a movie producer by the side. I'm an educational consultant. I consult for private schools as well. And above all, I still want to say I'm a mother.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll just take a bit back.
Okay.
A lot of years ago, who you were, before you met your late husband, just take us. How was life like generally? Yes. And what happened the day you met him?
I was a very young girl. I met him in December 1989. I think exactly on the 29th of December 1989. I was just 19. It was Christmas period. And I had left the village to go to Uyo in Akwa Ibom State. My village is actually Urakban in a Sinudim local government area of Akwa Ibom State. So I had gone home on Christmas holiday, and I needed to go and do my hair at Uyo. So when I got to Ikotikbene, I was trekking to the motor park where I was to take a vehicle to Uyo. And while I was walking, I heard someone call my name. When I turned, it turned out to be my secondary school French teacher. And he was walking with this tall, chocolate complexion, very tall, huge guy. And they came over, and my French teacher, after we exchanged pleasantries, introduced the handsome, tall man to me as his cousin. He asked where I was going, and I said I was going to Uyo to have my hair done. So the tall man who became my husband now asked, going, that must be very special, going all the way to Uyo to make your hair. And I said, yes, that's where my hairstylist is. It's not this time that we wear wig, that we fix hair. Then it was a time that you'll do either perm or you do jerry curl. So you had to be very careful who you go to for your hair so you don't get your hair damaged. So they said, well, they were going to Uyo too. And so that's how we boarded the same vehicle. He followed me to the salon. I was using kits to do my hair, and kits used to be very expensive then. So he asked what I was using for the hair, and the salon where I went, they used to sell all those things. So I picked it, and as I was opening my purse to pay, he said I shouldn't worry. He paid. And then he asked how long it was going to take. I told him, because I met some other people, that it might take up to maybe 3 to 4 hours. So they excused themselves and left. By the time I was done, he wasn't there. So I left. While I was in the vehicle at the park in Uyo, trying to get back home because it was already running late and I had to be home so that my parents would be angry that I'm coming back late, I saw them coming to the park, and then we still had to enter the same vehicle back. So he asked if I could have a drink with him so he could talk with me. I was hesitant, but I just said, oh, this guy was kind enough to pay for my keto. Let me just go hear what he has to say. So I got there. He told me he lives in Niger State. He works in Niger State. He gave me his address. He gave me his phone number. Then it was landline. And then in the village, we didn't have a phone. Anyway, I collected the phone number, his address. But truth is, I wasn't hoping to contact him. I wasn't interested. And then we parted ways. School resumed in January. And by February, a young girl walked up to me, and while I was in the school, in the university, because by this time I was in my second year in the university. And the young girl walked up to me and asked if I was Ndifreko Morin, and I said yes. She said her elder brother sent her letter to me. I asked who the elder brother was. So she explained, you met him sometimes in December last year.
His elder sister?
His younger sister. No, not Sarah, that's Auntie Victoria. We were in the same university, but I was meeting her for the first time that day. So she told me that he said she should give me the letter. I collected the letter. I put the letter inside my school bag. It was when I got to the hostel, I read the letter and I called my close friend Gladys. And I said to Gladys, look at the man I was telling you about that I met in December, he just sent a letter. I told Gladys, you know what, I'm not interested. Gladys said, no, you will be interested in this one because he's from our place. So you have to be interested. So after that letter, Gladys kept, disturbing. I should respond to the letter. I should respond. So I responded, and then he wrote back. And then he decided to visit. After we had exchanged letters, he visited, and the way he behaved when he visited, I liked his calmness. I liked his very peaceful nature. And so that's how we kicked off our friendship from there.
Okay, so fast forward, we know how it all ended. You guys got married.
Yes.
And I want to ask, what was, over the years, you guys were married, how long were you guys married for?
We're married for 18 whole years.
Right. What was the most special thing about him, and how was marriage to you like, basically, if you could just describe it?
Marriage was like heaven to me. Marriage was like paradise to me. My husband was very peaceful, very calm, very responsible, extremely responsible. In fact, I think up till now, I find it difficult to go to the market because he was the one going to the markets for me. In the North, the men are the ones that go to the market for their women. So even people that are not Northerners that live in the North seem to copy the lifestyle. So my husband would just say to me, what do we need? Make a list. Let me go to the market. He will go to the market with the driver. And what I used to love about him going to the market is that he will buy and overbuy. Sometimes he comes back and I'm quarreling because some of the things he will buy would definitely get spoiled. Things like plantain. Maybe just needed him to just buy, things were cheap then. Maybe 15 naira plantain. My husband will go and carry 2 bunches of plantain. So I have to start calling my friends to give out so the things wouldn't get spoiled. So my husband was a good man, an extremely good man. Extremely good man. He was very peaceful. Sometimes when we had misunderstandings, even when it's my fault, maybe he did something and I got angry and overreacted, that some men would have insisted you should apologize. My husband will apologize just for peace to reign. He was that peaceful. I had a beautiful marriage. He spoiled me a lot with gifts, flowers. He never missed any of our birthdays. Even if he's not around, he must send a letter. He must do something for us to know that it's our birthday. He was a good man, an extremely good husband.
How was he like as a father?
You know, I used to be very jealous of you people, especially in Yebong.
Yeah.
He had a special love.
We're all jealous of Inyebong, actually.
My husband was a very loving father. He loved you people so much that many times I had to ask him questions like, if you were to make a decision, maybe something happened and you had to choose between the children and I, who would you choose? And my husband, you know, he was full of wisdom. He would laugh and said, such a thing cannot happen. I said, no, I'm just asking. I just want to know. What if it happens? Who would you choose? He would just laugh. He never gave me an answer to that question. Whereas in my own case, it was very obvious that I loved him more than the children. Do you understand? But in his own case, he used to tell me, children need to be loved, and so we have to show them the love. That doesn't affect what I feel about you. Are you not the one that gave birth to all the children? And then I would just laugh at myself. So he was a wonderful father to his children.
That's beautiful. How did, the dynamics of being a mom, how was it like to you, and how did it affect like your goals? Did it necessarily derail you from your goals? That is, prior to you becoming
okay, are you asking how being married and becoming a mom affected my ambitions in life? Oh, sure, it did really affect it, because my husband wasn't the type that wanted me to work. In fact, if I was not positively stubborn, I don't know what would have happened to us by the time he died. Yeah, because if I were to listen to him, I wouldn't have worked. My husband actually wanted me to be a full-time housewife. He wanted me to just be home, take care of his children, take care of him, take care of the affairs of the home, and then he would take care of everything. But that wasn't how I was raised. I grew up to see my mother selling things to support my dad. And I didn't want anybody to make me a full-time housewife. So I insisted on getting a job. You know, I read French, and I had a few connections that could have helped me to work either in ECOWAS or foreign ministry, but he wouldn't hear it. That's how I ended up being a teacher. And I actually thank God that I ended up being a teacher, because I really love what I am doing. But as at that time, I never thought I could be a teacher. So teaching was the only thing he accepted that I should do. You know, teaching gives you time as a woman to take care of the home, take care of the children, monitor the children while the man goes out there to hustle for more money. So yes, getting married to him and having children actually affected who I had planned to become, but no regrets. I'm happy for who I am still, yeah.
So I remember when I would be in boarding school, and I would always look forward to coming back home because the house always felt peaceful. So I'm not speaking in reference to, when you hear stories of people and how toxic,
what people are going through in their families.
Exactly. Father is always beating the mother, you're shouting, you're a fool, this one, that one. And, I could count the number of those. Like, there was love, there was unity, there was harmony. I looked forward to being married because of,
what you saw.
Exactly. But I want us to walk through, the day he died. The day that he died. Can you just describe the day?
Well, it was a normal day, if you can remember. It was a Thursday. We used to wake up and have our morning devotion. And I remember waking up and coming to you people's room to call you for prayers. My mom was with us. My mom came because we used to have the morning devotion in our room. That's my room and my husband's room, yeah. And I remember very well that I was the one that took the exhortation that day. And the topic for that day was what
Everything
really counts.
Okay, what really counts?
What really counts. And we were using Open Heavens by Daddy G.O., Pastor Iya Deboye. And I remember going through the Open Heavens, which was talking about what really counts, being a Christian, what is more important to you. Are you really loving God as you ought to? Are you following the ways of God as you ought to? And all of that. But I remember on the course of that exhortation, I don't know what happened, but I know I veered into saying something like, when it was time for us to pray, I remember saying something like, let us pray that no matter what happens, we will not miss heaven. I remember saying something like, Mommy, I know I can die today. Daddy can die today. The question is, if we die today, where are we going? And I remember asking all of us to pray that if anything happens to any of us, we will make heaven. What I didn't know was the fact that the Holy Spirit was preparing my husband for heaven that same day. We finished praying, and I went downstairs to prepare breakfast for him. And as he came downstairs, there was an extraordinarily handsomeness on him. I didn't understand that was the glory of God. So I looked at him and I said, honey, you look so handsome this morning. You know, your dad was a shy person. So he smiled shyly. And then I said to him, because he was heading towards his car, the driver was waiting for him outside. And I said to him, honey, just wait. And he said, no, I'm already late for operational meeting. Everybody's seated waiting for me. I'll send the driver back to come and pick the food. And I said, okay. And he left. It wasn't long. I think as soon as the driver dropped him, he came back and the food was already packaged and I sent the food to him. I think at about maybe 20 minutes after 12 in the afternoon, I got a call from his office. And the person that called me was one of his staff in the office. And the person said, Mommy, come, oh, come. Daddy is very sick, come. And I was like, what is wrong with him? Sick? What happened? He said, Mommy, I said, Daddy is sick and you're there asking me questions. Come, 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 he's very sick. I had not had my bath since morning. I was just lazing around on the bed. So I quickly ran into the bathroom, trying to have my bath. Then it's like somebody said to me, they say your husband is very sick and you're having your bath. I jumped out of the bath again.
I remember the sound you made when you when you jumped, like it was so loud I could hear it from my room.
I jumped out of the bath and quickly put on something. Then I came out with the car key and I called Inebon, come. Let's go to Daddy's office. I've just received a call that he's very sick. And so I raced down to his office. When I got to his office, I saw everyone standing with folded hands. And I came out and said, where is he? And they said, they've taken him to the hospital. And I raced down to the hospital with my daughter. When I got to the hospital, I was led into an emergency hall. And my husband was lying on a stretcher. And I remember the first thing I did was held his hand. He was looking very peaceful, like he was sleeping. And then one of his staff stood and carried his hand, that's my husband's hand, and put like this. And I asked the staff, what did the doctor say? And the staff said, the doctor was waiting for you. He hasn't said anything. So I held my husband's hand, felt his pulse here. I didn't feel anything. I touched here. I didn't feel anything. And I said to the staff, he's not breathing. He said he's breathing. The doctor is waiting for you. He went out since you weren't here. So it wasn't long. the person pointed to the doctor coming from outside, that's the doctor. I quickly ran out to meet the doctor. He walked me into his office. So I was asking the doctor, "Doctor, what's the problem? What's the problem? What's wrong with my husband?" The doctor asked me if he complained about anything, any sickness, and I said no. So the doctor said, when I tried to examine him and I touched his liver, as he was talking, he touched me here. He said, I felt like the liver is a little bit enlarged. So I now asked him, so what do we do? Does it require surgery? What is the next thing? The doctor now said to me, "Madam, your husband is dead." How? First, I screamed, I cried, I hit myself on the floor. Then it's like somebody said to me, why are you here crying? Are you giving up on a battle that you have not fought? I got up. I got to where my husband was lying. And I'll say to him, "Honey, the doctor say you are dead." But I know that is his report. You are not dead. You cannot die. Is that how people die? No, now. Did we have that kind of discussion? You are dying and leaving me and the children to where? It's not possible. I called a few of my pastors. I said, they say he's dead, but I am not accepting that kind of report. I want us to take him to church. If after the prayers, he doesn't wake up, I will accept it as the will of God. But I will not agree for anyone to put my husband in the mortuary because I wasn't ready to give up on a battle I had not fought at all. You know, I was very active in church. By now, almost all the ministers, the workers, the church was full. And they started praying. In fact, by the time I got there, you know what we call emergency diarrhea? From the hospital to the church, I had serious emergency diarrhea. So by the time I got down, I quickly rushed to the church toilet to ease myself. By the time I was done and came back, they had shut the door. So I sat out. They were praying inside. I was outside crying. After about maybe 45 minutes of prayers, they came and opened the door and called me to come in. And I went in. They asked me to put my mouth in his ears and call his name, call him what I used to call him, and call him back. By the time I bent to call him, went down to hold him and call him, you have his nails. You and Nanny have his nails. I saw his beautiful nails had turned green. So at that point, my faith failed me. I felt it was all over. I cried. I called his name, but I was crying, and then the pastors had to take me out. That they didn't call me to come in and cry. So I went out again. They kept praying. They took me to a pastor's office to sit. So I sat there. After they had prayed for like maybe 2 hours in all, one of the pastors, he wasn't a redeemed pastor, but he was a friend of the redeemed. There was never a program that we held that he wasn't there. The man came out to me and said to me, "Sister, you told us that if we pray and he doesn't wake up, you will accept it as the will of God, right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "We have prayed for 2 hours now, and God has spoken. God says he's the one that called him home, that we shouldn't disturb his spirit again." And he said he was taking me home. He held me and I got up. He held me by the hand to take me to the car. By now, I had abandoned our car in the hospital, so I don't even know what happened to the car. I left the key. As soon as I got to the hospital, I just ran out with the door open, the key inside. I don't even know how the car came home till tomorrow. I don't know how it came home. So I had an experience that I've never had in my life when the pastor was taking me from the pastor's office to his car, right in front of the pastor's office. I walked without feeling my feet, my legs on the ground. It was like I was floating. I couldn't feel my legs. I had never had such an experience, and I've not had that experience again after that. It was like I was floating in the air. It was like, the whole thing was like a dream. How can something so beautiful end just like that? We got home. Surprisingly, by the time we got home, our compound was already filled with people. I came down again, got into the house. Everybody was looking at me with so much pity. That's how we started this journey of not having a husband and not having a father. I thought it was a bad dream that I was going to wake up from. But December will make it 17 years. And I haven't woken up from this dream. And I haven't been able to get over my husband all these years. So that's it. That's what happened on the 11th of December, 2008. Night came for me in the afternoon. Yeah.
What do you think is peculiar to a widow that you experience that is, so strong in your memory?
First of all, there were two words I didn't want to hear when that thing happened. I didn't want to hear the word late. And so whenever people came to visit us on condolence visits and they referred to my husband as late, it hurt me really bad. And then I hated the word widow so bad. I hated that word, widow. I would pinch myself and I saw I am now a widow. I don't know why, but I hated those two words, late and widow. Maybe not liking the word widow, maybe because of the kind of stories, I used to hear when I still had my husband alive. The way people used to look at widows, used to look at them like they are beggars, used to look at them like they take people's husbands, used to look at them. So it kind of made me to become withdrawn from people and shut myself inside. It was very traumatic for me. I was even ashamed to tell people that my husband was dead. I don't know, but I felt very ashamed. I don't know whether that was coming from the fact that I felt I had served God so much, and I felt I deserved better from God. So I was ashamed. I was ashamed to call people, maybe my friends that were outside of Bauchi, to tell them that I had lost my husband. But that kind of news, it spreads like wildfire.
How did it change motherhood for you after he died?
A lot of things changed. Now, that I was the soldier in the house. while daddy was the loving, caring daddy, I was the one disciplining you guys. But you also know that in spite of my gra-gra, you people were still respecting daddy more than me.
Was too huge to be disrespected.
Aside that, I think it's just a natural thing that God created. No matter how calm a man is, whenever he's angry and he takes action, the children are more afraid than when the mom, maybe because we mothers, we are always shouting, wah, 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 wah. So you get used to us shouting, saying, is it not mommy? That's how she used to shout. So I know, when it happened, I remember I looked into you people's faces and I saw fear. I saw fear in you people. And I felt I needed to calm down and be both play the role that your daddy was playing in you people's lives. You know, your daddy really used to have you people's time. He will play with you people. He will walk on the ground with on his force like a horse, and you people will climb on top of him. You know, that kind of a thing. So I knew it was very tough on you people. So I had to calm down. I became less, how do I put it?
Aggressive.
Less aggressive, that's the word I was looking for. I became less aggressive. I became calmer. I became more loving to you people because I knew I needed you people to trust me for us to be able to go on this very long journey together. And I think that worked. So I was like the father and mother. It changed a lot of everything because, you know, when your daddy was alive, I didn't know when there was no salt in the house. I didn't know when there was no pepper in the house. I didn't know when there was no onions in the house. It's my husband that used to go to the kitchen and check if there is salt, if there is pepper, and he will make sure that he restocks. So it was tough for me, you know, to come and be the one planning everything, doing everything, and financially it was really tough. But I just thank God that I was never a lazy person. You know, before he died, I was already into my buying and selling business. So all I needed to do was to make sure that I became more serious with my buying and selling because I knew that there was no how the salary could cut for me to be able to train you people. A lot of people tell me today that they are shocked at what God has done in my life because when daddy died, they thought that was the end. They didn't think I could be able to do it. They used to look at me and they were asking themselves, where will she start from? How will she cope? But to God's glory, we've come this far. Yeah.
Okay. Did people disappoint you financially or those things?
You know, the Bible has already said that cursed is he that puts his trust in the arm of the flesh. Yes, I got disappointed, especially by family, because I was thinking with my husband gone, my family would really be on my side. But, you know, everybody has his or her own problems. So when I noticed that it was just me and my children, I had to brace up and face the challenges, and I was able to overcome it by God's grace.
Can you walk me through how you, because in the official house we were in, it was, I think 7-bedroom, Abby?
I think there were 9 rooms in all, but it was actually a 6-bedroom. But there were 9 rooms in all. There was a room that was meant for laundry. There was a room. There were 9 rooms in all, but the bedrooms were actually 6. It was a huge place. You know that it was an official apartment, and that your husband has died does not mean that they are going to leave you there because someone else has to come and occupy the place. That's the lesson I learned. I learned a lesson that that made me to become more aggressive in terms of hustling for money and hustling to have a name to give myself a brand, to give me a name. Because after I lost my husband, I realized that all the respect I was having was based on the fact that I was married to one highly placed man in one office, in one government office. Do you understand? After he died, you know, we had a lot of people that were working as domestic staff. You know, everybody was withdrawn, and we were just left with the security man. And you know, security has to secure their property.
But I think they were available for the burial, sure.
Yes, they were. Even the vehicles, everything was there until we came back from the funeral. It was after we came back from the funeral that they withdrew all the official vehicles. You know, we didn't waste time in burying him.
16 days.
Yes, I think it was 16 days. Everything was taken, and you know now that you have to leave. So the first thing I did was to move into a friend's place. I moved into a friend's place, and that was I think, on the 2nd of February was when I moved into my friend's place. And you know, when you live with people, before you know it, little misunderstandings here and there. And me, I love my peace. So I had to talk to the then MD of my husband's place of work. And he gave us a place to stay in their VIP guest house. It was a 1-room. So, you know, we had stuff, we had things. So putting all our properties
and the room wasn't big.
In one room, the room was, you know, it's like a hotel now. Hotel rooms are not big. So putting everything in that room, in fact, they really tried for me, because some of the things, they even allowed me to keep some things in the kitchen, some of the things in one other place like that they weren't using. I can't forget that he's MD. He did well. He did well by me. He really tried for us. So yeah, that's how we moved to 1 room. But by this time, you know, when somebody dies, and then people come for condolence, they will give you money. They will give you gifts, money. So I think everything I got during and after my husband's funeral was up to 2 million naira. So from that money, I bought a land in Jos. I bought a land.
For context, I think 2 million naira was a lot of money back then.
Yes, 2 million naira was a lot of money. We bought that land for, I think it was 1.2 million. I think it was either 1 million or 1.2 million. Then I used the remaining to start the building.
I think it was 1 million. It was 2.5 plots. Each plot was 400,000.
Okay. So I think it was 1 million. So the remaining one, we started the building. So as at the time we moved into where we were squatting, the 1 room where we were squatting, the building had already gone, I think it had already gone up to window level. And then there was something God always did. Whenever the money for the house, for the building is finished, he would just come up with a surprise. When we got to that window level, God came up with a surprise. My husband's department decided to come to Jos to visit us. So when they came, they met with me, they sympathized with me. You know, my husband was a very good man. You can't find any of his colleagues say anything negative about my husband. So they all loved him very much. So they came and they gave me, I think it was 250,000. I know that was also a lot of money. So that 250,000 took that building to lintel level. And before you knew it, we completed the house. I think it was on December. My target was for us to move in on the 11th of December of the next year. You know, he died in 2008. My target was for us to be able to move into that house 11th of December 2009. But you know, all these laborers, when you pay them to do, they will disappoint you. I think we ended up moving in, was it on the 13th or 14th of December 2009, we moved into our house.
So within 1 year, you were able to...
Yes, within 1 year, I was able to fix a place for us. Even though the house was not...
Half.
Yeah,
So
we
just two
we
bedrooms
took
already.
yeah we took two rooms and the kitchen and completed and shut out the other side. Then from there started working on the other side until it was done. We needed to leave that environment to be able to forget. Another thing that really depressed me was, when we were moving into that my friend's house, they don't like dogs.
We had to give Big Boss out.
And then we had to give out our dog, Big Boss. Then someone was willing to adopt Big Boss. I carried Big Boss in the car. When we got to the place, he came down, he was walking with me. Then when it was time for me to go, I entered the car and then they shut their gate. Their fence was not high. So Big Boss started shouting, started jumping. He jumped. He tried to see if he could jump over the fence to follow me. He was screaming. And I had to drive off crying. It was a very tough time. It was a tough time on everybody, including our dog. Yeah.
I remember. I remember. Even when I went to school, I think that was the first time I was called out for not being able to pay school fees.
Yeah.
That was the first time.
You went back to school.
Yeah, so I think my school fee was not paid for a very long time. So they called me out. So I think I remember after class, I went, so I was crying.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, who had lost his father, about 2 years ago, was the one that was, telling me that, he used to tell me that it gets easier. But how was it like raising us? Did the job get harder? I know you spoke about, roles as per father and mother, but how were you able to navigate the financial aspects in terms of raising us? Did we give you tough time, basically?
No, people didn't give me tough time. You've always been good kids. But there were challenges here and there. My husband's death really affected Inebo badly. It affected her. And so, when a teenager is hit with such, she might find comfort in friends. Sometimes those friends may not be the good friends. So it was a difficult time, because sometimes she would do things that you would be like, if Udeme was alive, would she have done this? Then you have to talk, scold. It was difficult. But in all, I want to say that you people have been very great kids. You've been great children to me, and bringing you up wasn't such a difficult thing. It was just the normal children's misbehavior once in a while. And let's come back to when you were being called out for non-payment of fees. That was because I was juggling everything together. That was when your sister had gotten admission to go to the university in Airborne. And before Daddy died, we had already paid the acceptance fee, which was 150,000. And I didn't want Inebo to feel that, because my dad is late, that's why I cannot go back to school. I think our total fees was 450. So I had to ensure that I pay fees for her to go back to the university. Annie was in school. You were in school. We were building. And we needed to build so that we'll have where to stay. You
didn't share the fact that you built a house. Built another house in Akwa Ibom.
Yes, it's one of the things I told God, because our house in Jos, the way we set it up, it became very beautiful. By the time we were done with the house, very beautiful. The outside, flowers, serene. So the day when I had that dream, I remember coming out. I stood in front of my house and I looked at the house and I said, leave all this to where? It's like leaving the known to the unknown. God forbid. So by the time I told God that He is the one asking me to go, that He should give me a sign. And the sign I wanted was that He should give me a land in Uyo. Because I had never lived in a rented place all of my life. So I told God I didn't want to live in a rented place for more than 2 years maximum. So before I leave Jos, God should give me a land. And I called people that I know in Uyo to help me look for land. And then we were able to get a land and God made the money available. My brother-in-law, my late sister's husband was the one that got the place for us. And we paid for the land before I moved from Jos to Uyo. So after we were able to pay for that land, after God made the provisions for us to pay for that land, I became very convinced that God wanted us to go back home. We relocated in February 2014. And by August 2014, we started building our own home.
What was the hardest part of, is there a particular event, after the daddy died that made it particularly difficult being a mother? That is something that happened that made you say, hey, these children want to kill me.
It is you. It is you and Inyebong. I remember I watched one of your videos where you were talking about gambling. And it was from that video that I got to know that was what happened to your school fees.
I didn't know it was gambling.
You did? I didn't know it was gambling. Now you told me you went to do business. You went to invest the money.
And that was for the remaining half. After the gambling field.
I didn't know it was gambling. I thought you said you went to invest now that you were pitying me. As I was...
no, that was what I said.
Yes, you said you were pitying me, so you went to invest so that you could help me. So they now chop the money.
No, I wanted to use it to recover the one that I gambled before.
Okay, but that was not what you said.
Sorry.
Anyway, it was one Thursday, and one Thursday in January 2016, the first Thursday of the year. So Inyebong and I were preparing to go to church for weekly service. What do they call it in Redeem? I can't remember again now. Digging Deep is a faith clinic. We were preparing to go for a faith clinic. I'm no longer in Redeem, so I've forgotten some of their things. So I was, tying my hair tie in front of my mirror, singing to my God, getting ready to go to church. And Inyebong strolled into the room and said, Mommy, I don't know what Junior is saying. Oh, I say, Junior is saying, what is Junior saying? He said, Mommy, I've told him to call you because I don't even know what he's saying. I said, I now became afraid. I said, what happened? What did he say? He said, I don't know whether he said he lost his school fees. And then I had just roofed our house in Uyo. I roofed the house in Uyo, I think November 2015. And this thing happened in January 2016. So the hair tie I was tying, I brought the hair tie down. I sat on the floor. I said, Inyebong, what are you saying? I know it was your final year. That was supposed to be your final semester. Because the first semester used to be from, I think, August to December. I sat on the floor saying, Inyebong, what are you saying? He said that you you went to do investment and you lost your school fees and they're about to send you away because you did not pay school fees last semester. I said, so how did you write exam the last semester? He said, you said that you went and told them that your mother is a widow and does not have money to pay, but so those people, knowing that I've always been paying, now pitied you and allowed you to write first semester exam. Junior, that day, I cried. That day I called Udemo. I was calling my husband's name. I was screaming, oh, come out wherever you are, oh. He's a man that is supposed to take care of a son, oh. I was calling. I cried. That is because where was I going to get 1.8 million naira as at that time to pay the fees? Where? How? Something that I had finished and I was happy that, oh, I am done with Junior's fees. It's just to be sending him pocket money. I cried. The whole of that day, in fact, it was on a Thursday. So by the next day, that was a Friday, when I went to the toilet to ease myself, I looked at myself in the mirror. That was the day that I know that nothing ages one like grief. I had grown old overnight. That following day, I couldn't do anything. I went back into my room. I just cried all through. But I thank God. This God that I have served has never disappointed me. I thank God that God used a friend, and your sister and my friend in America, your sister who was doing her master's in London, God used the three of them to raise the money. Because on my own, everything I had spent on the building, on the project. Where was I supposed to get money from? But I thank God that you still graduated when you were supposed to graduate. A friend of mine provided a greater part of that money. Then your sister Annie, that was doing her master's in London, brought money, and my friend in America also contributed. So when I got that money, I said I was not going to send the money again to you. I had to travel by myself to Nost and paid the money by myself because I did not want any Tom and Jerry story anymore. And then I was very proud of you on your graduation day when you made the good results that you made. In spite of all the hurdles, you were still able to come up with a very good 2-1. I'm sure if you weren't distracted, you would have made a first class. So, I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank God we can laugh about it.
Kai, I used to really calculate. My fees, my salary was for Inebong's fees. Then my buying and selling was for you and Annie. I was doing contribution. And then there's a cooperative I had started in the school where I was.
You had one keke napep like that.
I had keke napep. So from the time that you leave to school, I start saving for your next fees.
What do you think is your greatest joy in being a mom? What gives you joy?
My greatest joy as a mom is seeing all of you all grown and doing well for yourselves. That's my greatest joy as a mom. My greatest joy as a mom is seeing all of you being well behaved, disciplined. You know, when some people put some things on social media and somebody goes to write a comment like, you don't know what God is doing for you when you don't have a family member that is disgracing you on social media. It's actually true, because sometimes you see some things and you begin to ask yourself, do these people have parents? Do they have mothers? Do they have fathers? How do their parents feel? Or their siblings or any of their loved ones feel seeing them behaving the way they do? So my greatest joy is not just in being a mother, but being a mother to responsible children. That's my greatest joy. I'm happy to see all of you, people that I carried in this womb, gave birth to, nurtured as babies, and then daddy left us and I was left alone to nurture you people. Today I see all of you doing well. It gives me so much joy. Yeah.
If you could put your journey, from the moment that he died up to this moment, summarize your journey in few words, how would you describe it?
It will be very difficult to summarize in few words. Yeah, I would say it was very tough, but it was worth the journey. It was really tough, but God saw me through, or God saw us through. It was very tough, but it made me tougher. It made me resilient. It made me a better person. Like I was trying to tell you something that after we came back from the funeral and the office took everything, removed every official thing from us, it made me to realize that the big woman I thought I was because of another person's position. Do you understand? So that made me to make up my mind that I was going to become somebody for myself. Yeah. So the journey was very tough, but it ended in praise. Yeah.
What's the one thing that you want us, that is Inyobani and I, to remember you for? And generally, what do you want the world to remember you for? If there are separate things you want to be remembered for each party.
Okay, I want you, my children, to remember me as a mother who has loved you with all of her heart. I'm sure without anybody telling you, you know that if it requires me giving your life for you people, I will do that, right? Yeah. So I want you people to remember me as a mom who could go any length for her children. A mom who could lay down his life if need arose for her children. A mom who loved her children with all of her heart, unconditionally. A mom who would do everything, sacrifice anything to support her children. Yes. And I want the world to know me for someone who likes to leave people that come around me better than I met them. Someone who loves to impact life.
We have a lot of widows, right? People who lose their husbands and are stuck. They don't know how, they feel helpless. They don't know how to navigate through it. If you had to advise them as someone who is
experienced,
a veteran in this now,
this business,
if you have to advise them and just walk them through, what advice do you think you would give on a generic scale?
The first thing is, do not put your trust in man. That's the first thing. Sophia said one funny thing in one movie. Somebody said, I'm disappointed in you. And Sophia said, who appointed you in the first place? If you don't put in your trust in anybody, nobody can disappoint you. I'm sure that's what Sophia meant when he said, who appointed you in the first place? So do not put your trust in man. Do not put your trust in mother, in father, in brothers, sisters, friends, because man would definitely fail you. Your trust always should be in God.
I have one last question.
Okay.
Why you never marry?
I told you something that I hated being called a widow. And I told you, I think one of the reasons I hated being called a widow was the way people used to look at widows, like people that are loose, people that used to snatch people's husbands. So that kind of made me withdrawn. I wasn't close to my friends that were married because I don't want to go to somebody's house and maybe they start thinking that you have come to snatch their husbands. That's based on the stories I used to hear. So, my husband used to tell me some things while he was alive that really gave me the courage to do all I was doing to ensure that you people turn out well. At times, my husband will look at me and say to me, you are such an honest woman. You are so honest. In fact, you are as transparent as a glass. And my heart desire is that our children should take that virtue from you. My husband will look at me and said, you are such a strong woman. And I know that even if I die today, my children will not suffer. Do you understand? I don't know where he was getting such ideas from, because calling me a strong woman and saying if you die today, your children will not suffer, that I didn't understand. Remember, he was always the one providing almost everything at home. So at what point was I strong? What did I do that made him to feel that if he dies, I will be able to take care of the children? So each time I remember those words, that's why I encourage every married man, speak good words to your spouses. Tell them things that if anything goes wrong, God forbid, tomorrow, they will remember something that will keep pushing them. Because those words were like the push for me. Every time I heard his voice telling me, I know even if I die today, my children will not suffer, I will say, hi, I cannot afford to disappoint this man in the grave. I cannot afford to disappoint. I'll be pushed. I'll make sure that I do everything to get that school fees for you people not to, to stay at home, to make sure that you people went to school and completed it. So one of the reasons why I didn't get married, why I didn't remarry, is the fact that I know how I love. I have a friend that used to call me lover girl. I can love foolishly. So I knew that if I decided to remarry, my children were going to suffer. Yes, because by the time you get married to another man who is not the father to those children, except you are extremely favored to find a good man who will love those children and treat them as theirs. Men and women are naturally jealous. I knew that if I remarry and I'm giving you people too much attention, whoever that I'm married to will start getting jealous. Do you understand? I'm feeling that you are not giving him enough attention. You are giving the children too much attention. And then if you take the attention from the children to the man, the children will also feel that you have abandoned them because their dad is gone. I know that can also make the children start misbehaving. And they'll have a good reason because they'll feel that you have abandoned them. So that made it difficult for me. Do you understand? So I had to make up my mind what I really wanted. I had to make a choice. And I chose my children. I chose to remain single, to be able to raise my children in the way and manner I wanted them to be raised. And I won't lie to you, Bobo, I don't have any regrets till tomorrow. I don't regret that I didn't get married. I don't regret that I have had to live alone, because you people are taking good care of me, and I'm grateful to God for that.
Good.
Yes.
We do our best.
Thank you.
Yes. So thank you so much for that, for all the questions you've answered. I apologize where I was notorious. I did my best to be a good boy. But
you got influenced.
Yes. Yeah.
You got influenced.
Yeah. So I thank you guys for staying with us this far. It's been a long one, but it's been worth it, right? It's been worth it. And I decided to shoot this episode, today being Mother's Day, in view of every single mother, letting you know that we love you, we see all you do, and we appreciate you. And I have, just a perfect example to display just how beautiful and perfect the love of a mother is. I mean, looking at my life, when people see me, people tell me, you're such a good guy, you're such a kind guy, you're a great guy, you're ambitious, you're hardworking. People, praise me a lot, but they don't know that you're only as strong as your foundation. She's my foundation. My father was a good foundation, but if my father left a shitty person to do the work, I would have turned out to be a shitty person, right? I want to say that I'm a living proof of the power of what a mother's love can look like, what it means to truly believe in a child. And I just want to use this medium to appreciate every single mother. And once again, happy Mother's Day. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.